She can get on it.
Okay, good evening. The meeting of the Monroe Township Board of Education will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we have a roll call, Mr. Gorski?
Certainly. Mrs. Arminio. Mr. Braverman. Mr. Chiarella.
Here.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Here.
Mrs. Lang.
Here.
Mrs. Carino. Mr. Ryback.
Here.
Mr. Russo. Mr. Rutsky.
Here.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Here.
Madam Board President, you have a quorum present this evening. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted October 13th, 2017 at all schools, the Home News Tribune, the Cranberry Press, and filed with the clerk of the municipality.
Thank you very much. At this time, we are going to number 5 on the agenda, the approval of minutes for the Public Board of Education meeting of August 23rd, 2017. Moved by Mr. Chiarella, second by Mr. Ryback. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. The closed session meeting of August 23rd, 2017.
So moved.
Mr. Chiarella, Mr. Ryback, additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, that is passed. The approval of the minutes for the Special Board of Education meeting of August 29th, 2017.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Chiarella, Mr. Ryback, additions or corrections to the minutes? Again, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Then that has passed. And we will go to the approval of the minutes for the closed session meeting of August 29th, 2017.
Second.
Mr. Ryback, Mr. Mayo. Again, last time, additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you. So now we're going to go on to presentations. We have 3 presentations this afternoon, or this evening, and I think we're very excited to have all 3 of them. The first one is a student presentation given by the Monroe Township Middle School students, and I'm very excited to have this tonight because we are working, and I'm going to have Dr. Alvick explain it better than I will, but we're working with the MTEA, and they have been offered a grant to promote our schools during the school year. And tonight we'll be doing that with the middle school, but Dr. Alvick can better explain it.
So we are proud to offer you one of our middle school programs tonight. This is through the PRIDE grant, P-R-I-D-E, and working with MTEA and Mrs. Augsbach. We're going to be featuring one of our schools at each of our board meetings throughout the year, so you'll get to see some of the great programs that are happening. The PRIDE program also covers other things like helping with school referendums, helping with literacy evenings, some of the activities and presentations you've seen at some of the back-to-school nights. So these are all done by our teachers union. So this evening we're welcoming the Monroe Township Middle School and Reading Superpowers. These are 6th graders who are discovering their reading superpowers. As educators, we know the power of reading is to help us reach new possibilities and to think creatively. So our teachers want our students to feel that power that reading gives them. So they are here this evening to talk about what they are doing in their classrooms. So I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Smith and our 6th grade reading superpowers.
Sixth graders are discovering their reading superpowers. As teachers, we know the power of reading is to help us imagine new possibilities, think creatively, and explore new worlds and ideas. We want our students to feel the power that reading gives them, and we are challenging them to think like superheroes. The excitement is building as students select books to read, spend quality time with their stories, and talking about the text with their classmates. We are hearing conversations about the power of knowledge, imagination, and strong vocabulary. Every day, their reading superpowers become stronger.
Reading this book, A Single Stone, gave me the power to understand that you should never give up, no matter how tall the mountain. I gained this power by seeing how Jenna overcame the mountain, even though the village leaders thought no one would survive if they went into the mountain alone.
Reading the book, The Fault in Our Stars, gave me the power to be compassionate. I gained this power by thinking if Augustus was not nice to Hazel, she would still be bitter about her life. In this way, if I'm compassionate to everyone I come across, their day will be much better than it previously was.
The Percy Jackson series gave me the power to feel like I had the world at my fingertips. I gained this power by reading about the characters' struggles like I was watching from above.
Reading the Hunger Games series gave me the power to be more brave and strong during heartbreaking and bone-breaking moments and times. I gained this power by reading how Katniss Everdeen stood up for her sister, survived the Hunger Games, and was really determined.
Reading the book, The One and Only Ivan, gave me the power to be a superhero and save anyone around the world. I gained this power by reading my favorite genres. When I read a book, there's always a hero at the end of each book. Like in the book The One and Only Ivan. Ivan was the hero because when Stella the baby elephant's mother died at the circus, Ivan the gorilla had been taking care of her. In this book, I felt like I'm the hero because if my mom or dad goes somewhere together, I have to take care of my brother, just like Ivan took care of Stella. This is how reading makes me powerful.
Reading gives me superpowers by opening my imagination. I get into the book. I sometimes imagine that I am that character in the book. I like when the antagonist and protagonist battle in different books. It also helps me to go to sleep. Reading really opens my imagination.
Reading gives you the power of imagination. I like to write my own stories, and I get most of my ideas from the many books I read. Reading this book, Beastly, gave me the power to believe in the power and magic of kindness and love. I gained this power by reading how Beauty and the Beast conquered the curse by falling in love with each other, no matter how their appearance is.
Reading the book Allegiant by Veronica Roth gave me the power to experience adventures through the characters' shoes. I gained this power by transporting myself in an astonishing new world, allowing my visualization to work its gears alongside of the characters.
Reading the book The Dark Prophecy gave me the power to imagine new possibilities. I gained this power by seeing how Leo was able to build a magical metal dragon out of just spare parts.
Reading the book The Girl in the Blue Coat gave me the power to make connections with things I've learned and experienced in the past. I gained this power by analyzing each sentence carefully and having questions, discussions, and connections in my head.
Reading Wonder gave me the power to understand a little more about struggles in life and that everyone should be treated equally. I gained this power by Augie's character having so many surgeries and how people think he is not ordinary, and he just wants to be treated equally.
Reading the book Steve Jobs, The Man Who Thought Different gave me the power to deepen the thought of how hard it is to succeed and to put me in someone else's shoes. I gained this power by imagining what it would feel like if I was there.
Reading this book, Life as We Knew It, gave me the power to realize that in life there will be ups and downs, but family will always stick together no matter what. I gained this power by realizing that the whole world might be coming to an end, and Miranda's family, no matter what, helped and protected each other.
Reading this book, Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, gave me the power to understand that fortune doesn't mean money. It means a powerful friendship. I gained this power by seeing how Minley could only ask one question to the Old Man of the Moon, and instead of asking about her fortune, she asked how she could help her friend.
Reading the Percy Jackson series gave me the power to find a new interest in Greek mythology and start learning more and more about it until I became an expert. I gained this power by learning more and more about Greek mythology and also trying out other books about ancient Greece and their beliefs.
Reading the book Wonder Woman gave me the power to always believe that even through hard times, I can still push through and make every day count. I gained this power by reading about the sacrifices that the character made to make everyone's life better.
I read the Harry Potter series. It gave me the power to believe I can do anything I put my mind to. I gained this power by reading about the tough obstacles Harry and his friends went through.
Reading the book Insurgent by Veronica Roth gave me the power to face my fears, not to risk my life for no reason, and to be brave. I gained this power by learning from the main character, Triss. She used to risk her life for no reason, but her friends stopped her from doing something that could harm her.
We'd like to thank all of our students for being here today and helping to get us to understand what you're doing in your 6th grade class. And we hope that you continue to read, because that is one of the most important things that we can do is read. And if you sound like you all enjoy reading, I know I do, and most of the people up here do. So we'd like to thank you, congratulate you for being here. We also look forward to the many other schools and programs that we will be seeing towards the rest of the school year. So thank you very much for being with us today. We should. We should have all worn our costumes too. That's what we were saying. Okay, at this time, we will go to a assessment data presentation with Dr. Alvick. I know this one's going to be almost as exciting.
I will try.
Okay.
Okay. So every year we're required to report out our assessment data from the previous school year. So that's what this presentation is. For those of you in the audience, this presentation will be available on the district website after I finish the presentation tonight. So you don't need to take pictures. It will be available to you afterwards. So 2017 marked the 3rd year of our park administration. We give all of our students the park English Language Arts and Literacy assessments in grades 3 through 11. And the math assessments are grades 3 through 8, then with end of course park assessments in Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. The scores are reported out in 5 levels. So, the scores are reported out in 5 levels. So when the parents received each individual student score report, they would have seen how their students compared with the 5 levels. Passing is considered level 4 or above at the state level. The first couple of slides, this is the overall New Jersey data. So this is the whole entire state, all of the students that took the park assessment in the spring for the entire state in English Language Arts and then in math. So again, this will be available to you on the district website that you'll be able to see everything. So those are the New Jersey results. When we break it down, I've broken it down for you for the Monroe Township School District. So you have the past 3 years percentages for each grade level in English Language Arts and math, and you also have the change in percentages. So obviously we want less students to be at the level 1, level 2 area, and more students to be at the level 4 and level 5. And then math is the same. So it's also printed out, available to you for math for the 3 years, and then the change for each one. One of the things we also look at as a district is we follow the students. Because yes, on this chart, you're looking at 3rd grade across. So 3rd grade in 2015, 3rd grade in 2016, 3rd grade in 2017. Obviously different students each year. If you follow down diagonally and follow the students through the cohort, 2015, they were in 3rd grade. 2016, they were in 4th grade. 2017, they were in 5th grade. You can also follow it that way. This is the total number of students that took the assessment in English Language Arts, and the total number of students who took the assessment in math. This is the slide that would kind of make the most sense, I think, to the audience. So this is a comparison of Monroe Township scores to the state percentages. In all cases, we are above the state average. That's not good enough for us. We want to keep going even higher than that. But we are above the state average in all of our scores. These are the English language arts scores, and then the math scores. Yes. What you'll notice with the math scores is it's broken down a little bit differently. Because of our accelerated math program, our students who are in the accelerated math program in 8th grade take, Mrs. Gasco will correct me if I'm wrong here, take the Algebra 1 assessment. So they're not taking the 8th grade assessment, they're taking the Algebra 1 assessment. So they're pulled out of the 8th grade results, and they have their own separate results there. So that's why you see multiple ones, the little star next to the 8th grade. So it's also broken down for you by demographics. However, if we had a group of students in any specific demographic that there were less than 25 students, they are not on these slides for confidentiality reasons. So this is all broken down for you, same way, broken down by the percentages, comparing last year to this year for each of those subgroups. We call them subgroups. So that's done for each grade level and each subject. So 3rd grade is going to be, you're going to have a language arts slide and a math slide. 4th grade, language arts, math. I'm just going to go through these quickly. So we're not going through every single one. Okay. So that's the park results. Now, the other thing that we're doing with the park, and I'll talk a little bit more about this at the end, is these are just the overall scores that we get as a district, but we actually get evidence statements. So every standard, every question that our students took on the park assessment, we have data on. And our teachers are actually in the process now of going through that specific data and taking a look at how did our students do on every single state standard. Do we need to adjust our curriculum, move things into a different order? Is there something that maybe we didn't teach enough and we need to add into it? So all of that is happening in the schools through our teacher work. So this is our science scores. So this year, you'll see the New Jersey ask for grades 4, New Jersey ask grade 8, and the end of course biology assessment. And these are our results. And again, we are above the state average for all of our science scores, well above the state average. We also give the AP assessments to all of our students. It's offered to all of our students who are taking AP courses at the high school. This past year, we had 354 students take the AP assessments. In order for students to be eligible for college credit and to have it considered that they passed the AP assessments, they need to score a level 3. So again, what's next? We're looking at this data. We're digging down into the data. We're digging into the evidence statements. We're looking at the standards. We're always looking to improve. So our teachers are doing that with our supervisors now. There are resources on this PowerPoint for parents, how to read the score reports. The score reports did go home end of August, beginning of September. They should have been in your home, so you should have gotten your individual child score report. It's a conversation you can have with teachers at conferences when you get them. And again, these are our next steps. So we are looking at those evidence statements. Teachers are using this data to help guide them in their student growth objectives. All of our teachers are required to do student growth objectives every year based on student data, and they can use this data as part of it. They don't use the park as their SGO, so they don't say, okay, my students are all going to increase because we don't get the scores back in time to do that. But a lot of them are using NWA MAP scores, which I know a lot of parents are familiar with. They're using other activities that they're doing in their classrooms, other assessments that they're doing at grade levels, and then the school goals committees are also working on their goals using this data, as well as the principal SGOs. So principals have to also set their own goals. So all of this data is being used in that and help us guide our curriculum. That's it.
I just, may I say something?
Yeah, I'm going to open it up to
I
the
don't have
board
a-
for questions.
Thank you. I don't have a question, but I do have a quick statement. I just wanted to, well, I want to thank the administration, obviously, but I really think that we have so many teachers here, and I'm not running for anything, so I could do this, right? I just want to thank you for these results, and we're very lucky to have each and every one of you in our district, so thank you.
Anyone else from the board? Questions? Well, and I've said many times too that, well, we have great facilities and great technology and great things going on here. We have great programs, but none of them is good without the staff that teaches these programs and the kids in this district. So we noticed that we've been trending upwards, and it's all thanks to whom we have working in this building. So, or not this building, I mean more like this district. So we thank you for what you do every day in partnering with the Board of Education for our children. Thank you. Okay, if there's no more comments or questions by the board, we will go to our budget philosophy discussion. Mr. Gorski, I think you're going to handle this.
Thank you, Madam Board President. And I can't believe it's time to introduce discussion on the budget again, because it seems like it was just 2 meetings ago when we received an additional state aid award that affected the current year budget. But here we are. It's the time of year to discuss a budget philosophy for the 18-19 school year. And we would like to recognize the board members, Kathy Kolopanowicz, Board President, Paul Rutsky, Finance Committee Chair. What is a budget philosophy? The philosophy of establishing the annual school budget should entail the creation of a framework for a budget that supports a democratic plan of appropriate funding for the implementation of educational programs so that students may develop and learn from quality experiences based on educationally sound and fiscally prudent planning. A solid financial base is paramount to ensuring that the school district will be able to meet the responsibility of preparing our students for an increasingly competitive environment. The budget philosophy stage should be macro-focused rather than micro-focused, as much more refinement will be required and implemented in the future through a rigorous budget process. Tonight, we are looking at first blush budget demands for next year and what our resources are projected to be to meet those demands, and the board will come to a resolution accordingly. Budgets are driven by student enrollment, and this slide dramatically shows that Monroe has picked up 1,781 new students over the past 8 years. It's important to note that the last 2 columns to the right are projections. We do a audit of all of our students on October 15th, and the first 6 columns are accurate ASSA counts from the October 15th report that the state certifies. And the last 2 columns are projected, as we have not completed the report for October 15th, 2017 yet. But it's safe to say that we will pick up almost 1,800 students over the past 8 years. That puts an incredible demand on the budget. Some more specific appropriation considerations. Salaries and benefits are approximately 75% of the general fund budget. For the 18-19 budget philosophy, the salary and benefit cost increases have to be conservatively estimated, as the largest collective negotiations unit, the MTEA, is currently in negotiations. Thus, the MTEA and the non-affiliated staff currently have undefined salary and benefits for next year, which are subject to change. Aggregate district salaries are approximately $65 million. Health benefits have been projected to increase 8.5%, with the caveat that claims will have to be monitored at least through January 2018 to receive an accurate estimate. And 2017-2018 health benefit premiums were $22.3 million and were offset by contractual contributions of approximately $4 million. So with the largest components of 75% of the budget being undefined at this time, we cannot project exactly what the salary demands are going to be for next year, nor can we accurately define what the health benefit premiums will be. We've been very successful over the past 5 years in keeping health benefit increases below a 5% average. Last year, they were 2.5% increase, and when netted with the contributions from staff, they were at 0% increase. We will continue to aggressively fight to keep the health benefit costs down while providing excellent plans for staff. Dr. Alvik?
So speaking about staff, what I did is I worked with the supervisors and the building principals to start thinking about next year. We start planning for the 18-19 budget already. So these are some items that have come out of these preliminary discussions. There is a very large budget defense that everyone goes through when they finally go through their budget rounds. So these are just kind of as Mr. Gorski said, a first blush. This is things that we know we need to start thinking about and considering. It is not necessarily that they are in the budget, but these are things that we need to think about as we plan for it. So we're looking at increasing staff, and the reason for increasing staff is because we have more students. So looking at that, 12 to 15 additional teachers or certificated staff members, special education staff, additional custodians, grounds person because of all of our athletic events that are happening in our district. We're also looking at transportation. We have more students coming. We need to transport them. So not only are 6 of the 54 passenger buses and 5 24 passenger vans are recommended to be replaced due to age mileage restrictions, we're also looking to add a few more to help with our growing enrollment students and the difficulty that we have with getting contracted buses to get all of our students to and from school, as well as some of the activities.
Dr. Alvik, if I may, it's very important to note that the additional buses beyond the required replacements require a development of a new bus depot on Schoolhouse Road, whereas the township is in the process of transferring the land to the school district, but there's still a large development appropriation coming in the facilities part for that. So a lot of this is tied to that land need.
Technology, we're always looking at our technology. Technology wears out after a few years, kind of gets behind the times, so we need to upgrade and also increase excuse me, and also looking at, because we're looking at trailers at the middle school next year, we're going to need to outfit those classrooms with projectors and computers in those classrooms too. So we're looking at increase in technology. As Mr. Gorski mentioned, we do have some facility needs that are coming next year. The 10 portable classrooms at the middle school being one of our facility needs. Also looking at creating that transportation depot, because there is no space at the board office where the buses are currently housed. We do have vans housed at the middle school now, and buses housed at Oak Tree School. So we need more space for that. Some of our boilers and HVAC units are beyond their serviceable life, so looking at replacing those in some of our schools. Looking at our sports facilities, the Cage turf field is over 13 years old and a life expectancy of about 10 years. Bleachers that are needed at those fields because of our growing student activities. We have more people that come and watch the games. Furniture for the portable classrooms at the middle school. Not only do we have to outfit it with the technology, but we need student desks, teacher desks, chairs, shelving, cabinets, a security desk. The high school needs more lockers. We're out of lockers for our high school students, or nearing that. So we need more lockers at the high school. And then again, additional furniture at the high school to accommodate that student growth, including some cafeteria tables. We look at our textbooks on a 5-year cycle, so we take a look at what our needs are going to be for the following year. We've done a great job of keeping up to date with that as the standards have been revised and our curriculum have been revised, but these are the textbooks that are up for renewal next year. And again, we have some programs, again, looking at our student needs. Our marching band uniforms are over 17 years old. So we're looking at possibly replacing those. And looking at some sports at the middle school. Part of the problem at the middle school is we have so many more students trying out for the same number of sports. What that means is more students get cut. So we want to offer more opportunities for our middle school students. The sub-varsity volleyball, that's the second year of this. This year, the boys volleyball is being run as a club. As we go to varsity sports, the first year is a club, the second year is a sub-varsity club, the third year is the full varsity. So it increases some sports, increases the sports there. We're the only high school in the area without a boys volleyball team. And unified sports. Unified sports involve our special needs students as well as our general education students, so giving more opportunities for all of our students. With all of these things, just some pieces of some data for you. Our June 16 graduates, over 90% of our students attended college, whether it be a 2-year or a 4-year college. We had quite a few students go into the military this year, so there's a lot happening. 84% of our students that took the AP test, as I reported out before, scored a 3 or better. And we are recognized as number 65 in Niche last year as the best schools of New Jersey, and number 59 in School Digger as best school in New Jersey. So we're continuing to monitor our programs and to try and offer as much as we can for our students, even with the increased student growth.
Well, what resources are available to meet the demands of all those new programs and services that are required and enhancing the current offerings? Last year, the district received $3.3 million in general fund state aid. That's a little more than $450 a pupil. It's very disproportionately low compared to our peers. We are engaged in a fair funding committee chaired by Ken Chiarella, and we are actively seeking all political avenues to get an increase in aid. We've lobbied as hard as we possibly can. We've met with everybody who will welcome us. We've even written our own legislation to bring more aid to the district. And we are going to keep the pedal down in that regard to fight for every dollar that's available to school districts because as Ken has reported out on the committee in the past, Monroe's taxes are being diverted to other communities to provide state aid to other districts where Monroe doesn't qualify. And basically, we're only getting categorical state aid, which is a reimbursement for our costs in categories such as special education, transportation, and security. But where the state doesn't give us, we provide for ourselves. The Board of Education created a new proprietary fund a couple years ago called Falcon Care Early Childhood Enrichment. And that program has supplanted the pre-existing one and offered a much better curriculum and has generated very nice profits of $1.1 million in their first 2 years of operations. The Finance Committee has recommended that $600,000 of that retained earnings be transferred to the general fund budget in 18-19 to generally offset instructional trailer costs. Monroe receives about 269 students from Jamesburg School District. And thanks to the hard work of this board, there is an agreement in place where Jamesburg is providing the full amount of tuition that's required for the current year, and as early as when we do the next report, it's assumed that Jamesburg will have overpaid their tuition through the budget, which will be applied toward the arrearage. Jamesburg's revenues for tuition are about 3.7% of general fund revenues. This calculation will be available on the website, but this determines the next year's projected cap. The Monroe's tax levy is the largest revenue source to the budget. And Governor Christie had imposed a cap on the general fund levy, a 2% cap with certain adjustments that takes Monroe to about a 3% increase over the past few years, and it's made living within that cap very difficult for a lot of school districts. Many have foregone facility improvements, kick the roof down the road type things, because it's very hard to budget for that and all of the other increases that Dr. Alvick illustrated. But we've addressed our facilities every year consistently by picking up at least $1 million roof project every year within the cap. And this shows you the cap calculation starts with a pre-year general fund tax levy. There's an automatic adjustment that the state calculates for enrollment. We don't know what that will be at this time, but the last one was $1.1 million. Then it's inflated by 2%. Then there's a health care cost adjustment that's available if your costs exceed an average of the state health benefit plan. Because Monroe was so effective in negotiating health insurance rates to a 2.5% increase last year, we disqualified ourselves from any cap adjustment for health care costs. And a couple years ago, the district went under cap by $600,000, which is available as a what's called banked cap. So the maximum cap for the general fund levy is $101,573,124, and if the board was to use the bank cap, it would be $102,173,124. That's an increase of only $3.1 million, or $3.7 million with the use of the banked cap. That is a small adjustment when you calculate the percentage increases on a $65 million wage base throughout the district, $20 million of health benefit costs at 8.5%, all of the new student needs, the requirements and mandates to replace buses, and the facility needs. The next slide shows another revenue source, which is the excess surplus. Administration works very hard to pinch every penny and manage the budget as effectively as possible. Health benefits is one of our best fiscal practices. That is a model that other districts have used, and we've shared through our budget efficiency rounds. Last year, we had $6.1 million of excess surplus. This year, the estimate shrunk slightly to $6,055,000, a decrease of $79,351, which will mean if that was the only revenue source to the budget, we would have a constriction of about $80,000 to the budget. But it still shows a lot of hard work, controlling costs, purchasing efficiently, and maximizing all other revenue sources. One of the most important variables in calculating the tax rate is ratables. The calculation is to take the tax levy and divide it by the ratable base, and that comes up with the tax rate. As the ratable base grows, as more people move into Monroe and property values are added, more people share the burden and the individual tax rates decrease. It is anticipated that for the 18-19 school year, ratables will increase again 1.5%. That is a significant percentage increase, which will suppress taxes throughout the entire community. So what does this presentation illustrate? That you have a very high-performing school district with numerous best practices, comparatively low taxation, which is an incredible value for all of our constituents. Administration's recommendations to the board are as follows. Because there are many unknowns at this point with salary increases to a large percentage of staff, health benefit increases, state aid, we don't know what the award is yet. We're recommending conservatism be applied in the approach to developing a philosophy by budgeting to the maximum spending authority that the statute allows, budgeting to cap. It would be, in my opinion, irresponsible to budget anything less than cap in this environment with heavy growth, heavy demands on the district, incredible new staffing needs, incredible facility needs, expanding transportation needs. Just to meet those responsibilities is an incredible feat. And to do it within the cap is also an incredible feat. So our recommendation to the Board of Education is to prioritize all the construction projects presented, curriculum projects recommended and presented, salary benefit increases we're going to have to conservatively estimate because of their contingent status, the transportation recommendations which are presented, and of course to transfer $600,000 of profits known as retained earnings from the Falcon Care Early Childhood Enrichment Program to generally offset new trailer costs for the 18-19 school year. We have our work cut out for us to refine this budget. Everything you see here is very preliminary and subject to review through the budget process, which is very vigorous and involves teams from the schools through administration to the Finance Committee to the Board of Education.
Okay, so I'm going to read a resolution, and then I'll open the resolution up for discussion by board members, questions, comments. It is recommended that the Board of Education establish and adopt a budget philosophy for the 2018-2019 school year, which tasks administration to prepare a budget that responsibly meets the demands of continuing significant student growth and facility needs, as well as program and service requirements, without exceeding the board's maximum spending authority, which would necessitate going out to a vote, while prioritizing the following items subject to the restrictions presented by administration. 1, construction projects as presented. 2, curriculum recommendations as presented. 3, salary and benefit increases at a conservative range due to their contingent status. 4, transportation recommendations as presented. And 5, to transfer $600,000 from the retained earnings of the Falcon Care Early Childhood Enrichment Proprietary Fund to generally offset new trailer costs for the 2018-2019 school year. This action by the board will enable the board to fulfill its educational responsibility to district students in a thorough, efficient, and fiscally prudent manner, while non-committedly ensuring the maintenance of district resources and facilities.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Chiarella, second by Mr. Ryback. I see we have a team today. So is there any comments or questions by any member of the board? Ms. Arminio?
The $600,000 being put into the general fund, correct? Does that, have we satisfied the loan from the old MECA program before we take that? I believe we have, but I just want to confirm that.
Yes, ma'am, that's confirmed. The loan from Mecca was completely paid off a couple of years ago.
Okay, I think it's a good idea to put that $600,000. The other question I have is the 2% cap that was created by the state through the governor, is that correct?
Yes, 2010 budget law.
Okay, and is that going to sunset at any time soon?
We haven't heard anything about it sunsetting.
So right now, whether we get a new governor or not, that's not scheduled to sunset unless somebody changes things in 2018, is that correct?
Correct, and we really can't anticipate that at the time.
Right.
And that adds to some of the contingencies
Right,
within this budget.
That's a concern. It's been said that going to the maximum spending authority, if we don't do that, is irresponsible. But on the other hand, I think not considering that within 6 months, we're going to be asking the same people who we're raising taxes for today to vote on a referendum. So I would like to think that we would have some slight consideration and perhaps go slightly under cap. I know it's been very, very difficult and our hands are tied. We cannot control the rapid enrollment. Only across the street at the Township Council can do that through their ordinance and planning and zoning. And we are, responsible for our children and all of the great work that the staff does, and the parents and the students. But we're asking the whole community to continually, go to the max. And I think I'd like to reserve that for March 13th of 2018. That's just my position at this point.
Madam?
Sure.
The resolution before you generally authorizes administration on what type of budget to build, what priorities should be contained in the budget. Of course, as that process gets refined and as we get closer to the tentative budget, if it's feasible to accomplish all of those goals that were outlined by Dr. Alvik and Dr. Kozak, and still present a budget under cap, which we did 2 years ago, we would be most pleased to recommend that. However, at this time, I think our work is certainly cut out for us with the effects of growth. And I also remind you that the Board of Education directed the $458,000 additional state aid award back to the taxpayers in the form of tax relief as the 16-17 budget was satisfactory in administration's view.
Right, and I totally agree, and I think it's a really very difficult position to put a Board of Education and the students in with this kind of rapid enrollment, again, that we have absolutely no control over. But we do have control over at least some suggestion of being very, very cautious about our budget. So has there ever been a budget that when the philosophy said go to cap has gone under cap? I think we've had under cap philosophies and we've gotten under cap by a little bit, but anytime I think we've gone to historically said go to cap, we just go to cap. I mean,
I think the budget philosophy for the year that we went $600,000 under cap, I'm going by memory, but I believe that was to stay within the statutory spending authority. As excess surplus grew to a very handsome number that year, it afforded us the ability to use our savings from the preceding year's budgets to apply in lieu of taxes. Right. So certainly the authorization today to stay within the statutory authority enables us to begin the budget process right now with the goal, of course, keeping in mind to do it efficiently as possible, to refine the numbers as sharply as possible, and if it's feasible to go under cap, and that will certainly be discussed more at the Finance Committee level.
Sure, Dr. Kozak.
Just to add to that, Mr. Arminio, the couple things that we're considering, as you heard in the presentation tonight, is the addition of trailers at the middle school. Right. So funding that, we're also looking at expanding our transportation, the lot across the street, and that'll take some money to do that. And the budget defense rounds will be coming up shortly. The pre-budget defense rounds are being conducted right now by Dr. Alvik and the supervisors and the principals. But when we get to those budget defense rounds, we really take a very, very hard look at, just keeping to what we need to keep a quality education without adding above that, especially, as you stated, we're very cognizant of the referendum coming up. And I agree with you. I mean, we're aware of what the taxpayers and the community members have said about the rising taxes, and we want to be very careful that we honor and we keep their respect by keeping our spending within reasonable limits while still maintaining a quality education and trying to find other ways to fund, like the trailers and the additional parking lot within the budget that we have without adding that to a loan or referendum. But I agree with what you're saying.
I just thought of something, if I may, President Kapanowicz. Is there a possible way since our job is education, is there a possible way to ask the Township Council to provide some funds for our trailers? Can we write a letter asking them to do that? Because again, our enrollment is really not controlled by us, and I'm just wondering, and they can ask the builders to provide some trailers. The builders are providing our students. Maybe they can provide help with the trailers, and that would, I don't see why we couldn't ask. I'm not sure that we could get anything, but in terms of budgeting, I think it would be prudent of us to seek other sources.
Madam?
Mr. Chiarella?
The only thing that I had on that, I just wanted to answer that for a second, because I don't know that we could ask them to to cross funds like that. I don't know, maybe we could, doesn't hurt to ask, I guess, or look into it. But I think where we can ask for relief is in the, and I was gonna bring that up for our committee reports, is in our committee, the Buildings and Grounds Transportation Committee, is asking that we go to the township and ask them to forego sewer and water connection fees. So they charged us to connect this high school, they charged us to connect Oak Tree, and it was millions of dollars. And what we'd like to do is have them forego that, and that would be a good way for them to not donate, but to alleviate some of the pressure. Yeah.
Madam,
Can I?
to Mr. Chiarella's point, and as I've stated previously, administration has already discussed the sewer connection fee issue with the township, and I will say that it was warmly received, and it's still being negotiated.
Can I? Yeah, I would like to say something. Just to clarify, Mike, this is a philosophy, and there are no numbers on the board right now, and we get the governor's state aid when?
We got it.
State aid comes out in the latter part of January, probably the third week of January.
Right.
But the budget process has begun already.
Right.
So this, in a very macro sense, tells administration from the board what type of cake you want baked.
Right. So, let me interrupt you. So, we're going to bake this cake, and if the new governor's coming in, and whoever that may be, if they decide to give us more of the state aid we deserve, then we could revisit how much we're actually going to cap.
Or not.
Or not. So if they come back and say, we're fully funding the formula, you're getting this amount of money, then we can look and say, we don't need to go to cap.
That's correct. If the formula was fully funded, it would be an approximate infusion of about $5 million that most likely would be offset from the tax levy. So yes, it's a very dynamic process. We are at the very earliest stage. This is just general instructions on what type of cake, again, to use an analogy, that you would like baked. And we will begin the baking process, but we will have to be flexible to change layers and toppings and whatever to roll out something that's delicious at the end, like we did last year.
Thank you.
Mr. Ryback.
Thank you. I just want to follow up on some of the comments certainly started by Ms. Alminio. Fiscal efficiency is, I think, a key thing for all of us here, and I appreciate your statements there. But we have a lot to deal with ahead of us, and I understand that we really can't come up with much until we've settled many things and know what's coming down the pike. But one of the things that I have to say that we probably could start the ball rolling now, and there's no harm in it, is asking why developers who are going to be making millions of dollars off of the residents of this town and residents moving in can't help pay for some of the costs that we're dealing with. My opinion, they should be building the schools, not the taxpayers here. They should be building the schools, but obviously that's illegal. I realize impact fees are illegal, but if we ask, the worst that happens is we're in the same boat we're in now. So I think that's something that we should seriously do, as well as the sewer and connection fees. I think we can't forget about those either.
Thank you. And also, I think, knowing that we're going to have a new governor in January, we're going to need, as a board, to keep advocating for more money for next year, not any less, or at least the same amount, which isn't even helping us. So we have our work cut out to do, too, by advocating to the state that, we need this formula for next year to help us out. We're in a situation where we're adding 300-400 kids a year, that we're asking our taxpayers to cover more than they should be covering, and we need help here, and that's our job, is to continue to do that. Knowing we also have a referendum that is so important to the education of our students. Any other comments or questions?
Just a small
Mr.
question.
Brutsky.
Hello.
Hello.
So with regards to the expense of the trailers, my question comes down to the furniture inside, the computers inside. Will we be buying that, or will we be leasing that like we lease the trailers?
computers and office equipment generally has a 5-year useful life, and we found it an effective process to lease purchase those items in aggregate by putting the financing out to bid and getting the lowest interest rates on it. And this way, the service of the equipment is equally matched over its useful life. So we will seek again a lease purchase and recommend to the board to aggregate all of the equipment purchase, anything that can be considered collateral, and lease purchase it. So not to require you to provide financing for an equipment item in 1 year when it has a useful life for 5. This better matches and it eases the burden of a very tight budget.
Got it, thank you.
Anyone else? Well, then at this time, we'll have a roll call on the resolution.
Mrs. Arminio.
Since this is a philosophy budget hearing, and I represent many people in the community, I'm going to say no, because philosophically, I think many people would like us to go a little bit under the max. Thank you.
Mr. Braverman.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion has passed.
Thank you. And at this time, we will go to our student board members report.
Thank you. The marching band is attending a competition on October 21st.
Can you use your microphone, please?
Also, the Monroe Township Footlights production is hosting their annual showcase on October 26th, 27th, and 28th. Also, at Monroe Township, the Green Bear is being held on October 28th.
Thank you. Good stuff, all good stuff. Committee reports. Is there any committee that needs to report this evening? Ms. DeMayo. Yes.
Okay, I am reporting on the curriculum. We have a good time in the curriculum committee. If any parent really wants to understand the education of their children, they really should come and attend the curriculum committee. The meeting is open to anybody who wants to attend, and it's 5:30 the night of the board meeting. The board members and the supervisors are all pretty enthusiastic about what's going on. Tonight we reviewed mathematics grade 2 and mathematics grade 5 new curriculum. This is what the curriculum document looks like. It's very dry looking, but this is what it translates for the kids. And it's pretty exciting stuff. So we also reviewed, there's a New Jersey Poetry Out Loud contest. And what this is, it's a national poetry contest for students in grade 9 through 12. It's a competition, so all 50 states, there'll be a school competition, then it'll be statewide, and all the states will compete then after that. The focus is on 2 clubs, the Literacy Club and the TEDx Club. They're gonna participate in this, but it's open to everybody who wants to participate. Students will review and select from more than 900 poetries, and they will engage in reading, analyzing, discussing, and reciting the poem that they have chosen. So it's pretty exciting. We also talked about the middle school is having a multicultural literacy partnership with a school in India. And so they've partnered with a school in India. It's a private school in Mumbai. The students do speak English. They will work with multicultural literacy. It's a multicultural literacy club. And so what they will do is they will read 3 books. They will read a book about India, they will read a book about global issues, and then they will read a book of their choice and have a virtual book club with their Indian counterparts. The club will go through January through April. The reason the club is short is because the 2 calendars of our school and the Indian school don't only match during January through April. So that's pretty exciting for the middle school students. We also reviewed social studies and science mentor texts. And what these are books that show a student how to do something in writing. It's teaching science through literacy. And the books, these are leveled readers. So the science books are moving away from your standard textbooks, and they're teaching science through literacy. There could be stories teaching kids about chemical reactions, and it takes science to a new level because it's quality reading. It's not that dry textbook, and it's a better way to communicate the science, and it's more interesting for students. We also talked about leveled readers. And leveled readers are when the kids in elementary school are studying a topic, right? Say they're studying water and earth. They each get a book. And this book comes in different levels depending on where the child falls in their reading skills. So you have, level orange for kids who are advanced readers, blue, and then you have green. So all the kids are learning the same topic. They're just being taught at their reading level. So it really is personalized learning for these students. We also, I pulled this up before. This is another way that kids are getting personalized learning. This is the grade 2 math curriculum, and what happens is, first of all, the books are really cute. They've got characters, and they're bright colors, and they're really interesting. They're not that, here's 20 questions, please answer them. And this is also personalized because a student, according to their level, will be told which questions to answer. So there will be questions for higher level learners, for lower level learners. And so all the kids are learning the same concept, but at their own level. So it's really pretty exciting. And that was pretty much it.
Thank you. I just want to add on to that today because a lot of parents cannot teach their children how to do math homework anymore. So we had a little lesson today on how to do new math, and I think it was really exciting for us to do that and to see really firsthand how our kids are learning differently than we did when we had that opportunity. Mr. Chiarella. Second grade, yeah. Second grade.
But it was really cool because it's also not about having the kids in second grade get the right answer. It's about having them think through the process and learn the process, which is something that
understanding what they're doing,
which we did not have, or I didn't, growing up.
Mr. Chiarella, I saw you had your hand up.
I just was going to give my committee report.
I know.
Oh, can I ask
you want to ask a question, Ms. Arminio?
I was at the last curriculum meeting, and I thought it was really interesting about the levels. But how does, and I didn't think of this before, but after what you said, how does a child from one level advance to another? Is there room for doing that in the curriculum? Okay.
Absolutely.
That would be important. I think we don't want to keep people at just one level. We want to make sure that if they are starting at one level, they have the ability to advance. Thank you.
We actually call it flexible grouping now. So no student is ever in one group all the time. I'm in classrooms where students are moving groups during the lesson and watching the teachers as they're going around and assessing their students informally, seeing how they're doing, and moving them to a different group during that time. It's very flexible in the classroom. Okay. It's based on the student needs.
Thank you.
And I think our goal is to make sure that we raise the bar for all children.
Right, I mean, I think the program is good and it's like a progressive program, but it just dawned on me that we're not keeping people at a certain level. It's about moving them into higher levels at every turn. Thank you.
Is this for Jill?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's for the committee. I just want to bring out one thing and thank Mrs. Lang because her question to the curriculum supervisors brought out something that I think we should all bring out, and that they all of them come to the curriculum committee meetings, whether they're reporting or not. They're there to lend their expertise. because they really care about the kids and the teachers and doing the right thing. And I think it was really wonderful. It's wonderful to have that expertise at that table every month.
And the good thing about that is that they work so closely together that if you ask one person a question, the other person can answer the question in all different fields. So it just shows a good cross curriculum that we're doing here, and it's really great. Okay, Mr. Chiarella?
I don't even know if I could follow all that excitement.
It was pretty exciting.
We had our meeting on October 2nd, Buildings, Grounds, and Transportation. We had several things, several topics, but we closed out the lead water testing. So there were concerns about the lead testing that was done. We had some positive hits for lead at some of our schools, and so we had to go about testing and then remediating. That's been accomplished, and then follow-up testing was done, and we're at normal levels. So, thankfully, now we applied for to be reimbursed for that, and we got I think it was $14,000. I have it right here, $14,397, which doesn't cover everything, but it covers a good portion of that. We also got a pretty cool aerial view of the middle school and where the 8 or 9 trailers will go. That was pretty interesting to see where they'll be set up in the front of the building and how they'll be set up. And that brings us to our connection fees. So I'm glad to hear that the follow-up to our meeting was a conversation with the township. I think that's important because every dollar counts, and it really doesn't matter which pocket it's coming out of, whether it's the Board of Ed's pocket or the township's pocket. It's still our taxpayers' pocket. So if we could alleviate some of that somewhere, I think that goes a long way. Govdeals.com. I've been fighting for the other one for a while, but no, that's a private joke. But we sold those eyesore, dilapidated, gutted buses that were behind the middle school through govdeals.com, and we were able to get $28,296 for those, and that'll go into the general fund. So that's pretty good, because we're going to get rid of all that junk that was behind there and replace that with money. So that's important. And then there was I don't even know how to say this. Piash, is that a complaint filed from Monroe Commons that there were some health concerns about the bathroom and cleanliness and things like that. That was investigated and came back with that the finding was, how would you even say that? It wasn't
unfounded.
Unfounded, thank you. Unfounded. No finding. Yeah, finding of unfoundedness. And that's it. That's all I had. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Retzky.
All right, so the Finance Committee, also not very exciting. And Ken already stole some of my thunder about the lead testing. So what I'll just be a little bit specific on is, so the amount of, the expense that we laid out, $14,397.30, we have submitted a request to be reimbursed, but I do not believe we've yet been reimbursed. Right? I think that has to be a whole process. The state has to reimburse everybody at one time. So that's the lead testing, everything that Ken said. Let's move on to, our meeting was on last Monday, October 2nd at 7 o'clock, for the record. So we went on to talk about the 2 different advisors that we'll be using for the bond referendum, their services. We reviewed the 2 contracts. The first was for bond counsel, services from McCarter and English, LLP. Now, these people have worked with the Monroe Board of Ed without interruption since 1988, so it's a long-standing relationship. And for that loyalty, they grant us a discounted rate of $400 per hour as opposed to $550 per hour. So that's could be substantial. That, when you extrapolate it out, is capped not to exceed $2,500 for phase 1. So we know the maximum cost from McCarter and English for phase 1 is $2,500, could be less. And what that covers is all professional services leading up to the successful referendum. Some of those services, but not limited to, are writing the resolution for bond sale, preparing the bond offering documents, and handling the closing for the bond issue. So fingers crossed on that. The second review we did was for the financial advisory firm of Phoenix Advisors, LLC. We've also worked with them many times in the past. This is with pertains to the also pre-referendum planning and analysis. Specifically, this includes financial planning, tax impact analysis, financial modeling, preparation of public information and presentations, news releases, and applications to oversight boards, as well as other services. This fee for the pre-planning is not to exceed $1,500, and if it's successful and we move on to phase 2, that $1,500 is credited towards our expenses in phase 2. So it supports the next phase of the project. And I'll go back to the first part of my presentation. I'm going to say that was actually very exciting review. Those were some good numbers. We went on to talk about a potential new school app for our iPhones or our cell phones. So Dr. Kozak presented a new app called School Info App. We looked at it, we talked about it, and after some discussion from the committee members, we gave it back to Dr. Kozak to put together a more formal proposal, one with some exciting matrix and rubrics. All right.
Exciting as possible.
Every step of the way. The audit update came next. We are about a third of the way through our exciting audit. Right now they're focusing on payroll and transaction testing, cafeteria operations, as well as fixed assets. On that, we will continue to keep everyone posted as we continue to make progress and make it up to 2/3. Last but not least, not on the agenda, but we did end up having a discussion, and we are going to request Miss Maria Normick, the Director of Adult Education, to come to the next Finance Committee meeting, where we're going to ask her to give us an update on the fall enrollment and numbers. So we continue to review and continue to evaluate the adult education program. That concludes my report.
Okay, is there any other reports? Because I don't know if I could take any more excitement tonight. No other reports? Okay, we will go to the public forum. Anyone from the public wishing to speak to the agenda, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and we will adhere to our 4-minute time limit.
Good evening. Chrissy Skirby, 21 Preakness Drive. I just wanted to say I've had the privilege of having I have 2 children in the district. I've had the privilege of having my children, due to redistricting, go through Barclay Brook, Brookside, Oak Tree, Applegarth, the middle school, and the high school. The only schools we haven't been in Woodland and Mill Lake. And I have to tell you, as a parent going through all of those schools, we have absolutely fantastic staff and teachers in these schools. We heard tonight how we celebrate our schools. We are touting our results on the PARCC exam. That is a direct reflection of our teachers and what is going on in the classrooms. Our teachers are handling increased enrollment. They are handling situations that teachers shouldn't have to handle. And it is, as a parent, it saddens me every morning when I drive my son to the high school to see the signs that our teachers are working without a contract. Our teachers their salaries are the bottom 3. They're 3 from the bottom in our county. That is appalling to me as a parent. We can do better in this district, and I'd like to know, Madam Board President, why is it being such a tough negotiation for our teachers' contracts? It should not be tough. We're sitting here touting our results, touting what our teachers are doing, touting the results that our students are seeing, yet we don't want to pay them. We are losing staff every day to other districts. It is absolutely appalling what is going on. We are crowding our schools with more and more students. We're not addressing the real issue of the overcrowding in our buildings, And we're asking our teachers to do more and more, and we can't even come up with a good contract for them. It is absolutely sad as a parent to see this going on in our district, and I really hope, Madam Board President, that you will do something quickly to resolve this, because we cannot lose any more staff to this. Our teachers deserve better.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
Krishna Tekale, 11 Jake Place. I have one comment to make first. I support the MTEA here. They need to get their contract. Having said that, there is one thing that I brought up during the last Board of Education meeting. There was a plan to get a middle school, the public voting on it, public referendum on it.
A referendum?
Right. Is that still on track, and do you have any updates on the middle school public referendum? Any steps have been taken? What's happening there?
Well, you know, at the September board meeting, the board passed a resolution to,
Right.
and I will have something in my board president's report about the referendum.
Cool. Thank you. And a follow-up question, do you have any plans or updates on the middle high school and the elementary school, the expansions? When are they being targeted and what's happening?
No, we do not have any updates on the high school or the proposed new elementary school at this time. We're concentrating on the referendum for the middle school and making sure that that one gets passed.
Okay. And so the middle school after the referendum passes would be 4 years from that time out, right? Or is it going to be any sooner?
I think 2021?
September 21.
September, if it passes in this March 13th, we hope to open the doors to that school in September of 2021.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else?
Hello, Ambika Sukla. I live in Sierra Court, 2 Sierra Court. First of all, I would like to thank all our teachers and members of the Board of Education. You guys are doing a great job. My question is about the slide where we presented the ranking of the school. And I did a quick check on the same websites that were mentioned in your presentation, and this is what I saw. The school digger rank for Monroe Township School District is 158. The school digger rank for the middle school is 138. The middle school rank in the other website is 131, and the next high school rank is 140, which is below Heightstown, and it's also below Old Bridge and a lot of other neighboring towns. And if I go to Willow and just try to check the prices of my property, it says that Monroe Township School is rated 5, which is, frankly, pretty disturbing. So I was just wondering if there is a reason to worry, if you have any opinion about these numbers.
Would that be
Dr. Kozak? Or
Yeah,
Dr.
Gloucester
I
County?
think between Dr. Alvick and myself, one thing I would like to check, Dr. Alvick is checking the websites right now. There are 2 Monroe Townships. About a week or 2 ago, were inundated with phone calls thinking that we had mold in our schools and it was the other Monroe Township in South Jersey. So I'm not sure about the rankings.
No, I've been following this very
okay, all right.
closely.
So with that rankings, now I haven't
For the
looked at
other
all of
one,
them. I did look at what is it, Zillow, I think, a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
Part of what I found with Zillow, and I find it with Nietzsche and some of the other rankings, great schools as well, is sometimes the school data is about 2 years old that they're using. They also, different websites use different rankings. Some include parent comments, some do not. It's not the most reliable. We did state it in the presentation tonight, so you're absolutely right. And if our numbers are wrong, then we stand corrected. We're certainly,
No, your numbers were not wrong, just to be.
Niche is 65? Okay.
Your numbers were not wrong. You just picked the good numbers. The bad numbers were not on the slide.
Oh.
So your numbers were correct. Yes, the high school. High school is ranked 59 in School Digger, and the school district is ranked 65 or 69 in the other website. That's your numbers are good.
Okay.
The only thing is the numbers that are not good were not on the slide, and I just looked them up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I don't, I didn't look at the numbers for the other schools, but I would like to say this. It's very difficult when you look and you try to rank one school or one district against one another, but what we do look at is how do our students, there's a very big push to personalize education, to individualize education. So we spend a lot of time looking at individual students or cohorts of students and saying, are we advancing that cohort of students? And how does that compare across the state? Now, as was stated tonight, we're above the state average. That's nice, but it's not good enough. We have very high aspirations for our students, expectations. As been stated by several people, and I concur with what they've stated, our teachers do an excellent job teaching our students. Our students are good. We have good families. We see a continual increase in what our students are able to achieve. And then there are other areas that those rankings don't always measure. For instance, the type of activities and clubs that we offer our students, the project-based... I'm being beeped. Mr. Gorski, excuse me.
Isn't that exciting, right?
Can you turn the timer off my answer? The project-based learning that we're doing, the maker spaces that are going on, the work that our students do. For instance, you won't see in the rankings how our Model UN students have done, or our DECA students, or our FBLA students last year, and again, they're starting again this year. They're excellent. They're really doing some top-level work. So that's what excites me. That's where I think we're really shining. And that's why I look forward to these student presentations that we're having at the board meeting. And we put these student presentations on Channel 28. We need the community to really understand it's more than just a number. We talk about PARCC testing. You can't measure everybody by just one test score. It is part of the equation, but it's not the entire equation. And we really have to, when I go around to the classrooms and see the wonderful learning activities, God bless you, that are taking place, that's what I want to get out to the community so that they know, so that you as a parent and other parents are confident and are proud of what your children are doing and what we're doing as educators with your children, in collaboration with your children. But I'm very proud to say that our students are doing outstanding work. Another indicator not shown on there is what kind of colleges are the kids getting into? Our kids are getting into some very good universities. So there are all type of things that are hard to measure. And when I look at the different websites, there's different reasons. Some are real estate, they're pushing their agenda, and others have their own different agenda. But I can't depend on those outside sources. We have to look internally at what we're doing. And we'll continue to improve because we're not done. Mm-hmm. The road to success is almost always under construction. So we're going to continue every single day to improve what we're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone?
Ready, set, motion.
Raghu Chituri, 23 Green Ash Street.
Okay.
I just want to thank the Board of Education for this meeting, and I want to support the teachers who are behind these great PARCC score that we have just discussed about it. I want to support them. Want to check with you guys, follow up regularly, what it takes for them to complete their contract or negotiate the contracts. That's one. And second, when you presented the PARCC scores, you're comparing the Monroe State or our school district with state averages. Is there any way that you can include the top performing school or at least ranking wise, top 5, and then see where we are standing? That makes it more in a competitive way what it takes for us to progress further. In state average, I know we are doing good. Most of the times it is the same. For us to assess whether we have improved or not, we should have some kind of a relative number with the top performing schools. And
yes, and then I'm going to talk about, just mention about the contract. So.
Sure. Okay. So that's an excellent point that you bring up. The state data, the state test is the only data that we have that's a consistent, a constant, to something that we can measure from school to school. So we don't have all of the rest of the other school districts' data yet. I wish we did. However, the state does, and they release something called the School Performance Report. And in that School Performance Report, sometimes known as the school's report card, they will compare the Monroe Township School District against other school districts of similar socioeconomic status and similar achievement status, and that gives us a better understanding of how we do against some of these other schools. We also look at things like the U.S. News and World Report, which I find to be a little bit more reliable in judging not only schools in the state but across the country. But again, the problem we run into is they're always using data that's a year or two old. But the School Performance Report comes out like January, February, and the data is from the previous school year. But that will compare this district with other districts that are similar to us.
I mean, will that be shared with the public, or is it just only for school, only for?
Oh no, it's shared with the public. There are links on our website. It's on the State Department of Ed website. Yeah, we release it. We want that to be transparent.
If anybody Googles school report cards, you'll go to that. It'll take you to that website that has all the previous ones also.
Okay. And one last thing that somebody has already brought it up about the high school and the elementary school. Last time was my first meeting attendance here, and I was told that we ran into a situation where we don't have a choice but to go for a referendum for the middle school. Like, we did not act much earlier, and the influx of the new students has gone so high that it is unsafe for the students for the existing students in the middle school. Aren't we getting into the same scenario for both high school as well as elementary school? Like, why do you want to wait for, why isn't Board of Education or somebody taking up and trying to address it, much ahead of time, rather than just getting into the last scenario, last stage, where we don't have a choice but to just go for either state make the decision or going by a referendum.
Yeah, and I understand that, and we have to look at things in their entirety. So we look at the total scope of the project, and through the redistricting that we did a couple years ago with the students, we were able to balance the enrollment out a little easier in the elementary. We hired additional staff, and the same in the high school. Through some of the scheduling, we've been able to look to say it's not the optimal situation, but it's the best considering all the circumstances. That the middle school is the highest priority. We haven't forgotten the elementary, and we certainly haven't forgotten the high school, but we were able to keep the class sizes reasonable in those two areas. Certainly it's still crowded, and we realize that, but sometimes it's best to say, okay, we have these three issues, let's focus on one, get that one done, be successful with it, and let's move to the other projects.
I totally agree on that part, but what we wanted to see is if there is any progress, can you share with us, on the next meeting for the both elementary as well as the high school, where do we stand and what progress has been made with regards to the decision for the improvement or maybe adding new schools, whatever the decision has been made. We would like to get an update from the Board of Education in our next meeting for elementary as well as high school, to just not ignore them, saying that we just our current priority is just in middle school only.
Okay, and we don't know that we will have a plan in place at the next board meeting, but we will definitely be giving you updates as we go through the process. And as I said before, we are right now concentrating on getting the middle school referendum passed. And as soon as we do that, then we're doing that right now also, looking at the needs of the high school and the elementary school to get that going as soon as we can get the middle school passed. And in regard to your question about the contract, it has always been the policy of the Board of Education that we never discuss the specifics of negotiations while we're in negotiations. but I could say that we are meeting on a regular basis. The talks are going, I believe, very well, and as long as we're continuing to talk, that's a good thing. Talk with both sides.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Okay, at this time, we will close public forum, and Dr. Kozak, you can give your superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to invite the members of the board, as well as all the members of the Monroe Township community, to join with us on November 14th. It's a Tuesday night, November 14th, for our technology exposition. This Tech Expo will feature several technology companies presenting their devices for consideration for our high school and our one-to-one technology integration. Participating students, community and staff members, and board members will have an opportunity to complete a survey at the end of their session to collect data on the suitability of the devices presented during the expo for use by our high school students. Because we're expecting a large number, as in previous years, we ask that you visit the district website to register. It's right on the front of the district website. It's very easy to do. And you will receive an e-ticket that you can either print out or use on your phone. It'll tell you which session. So the first session will be at 6 o'clock, and the second session may be 7:30, I think 7:30. And you will receive an e-ticket for admission to that. And that's really helpful for the board as well, because we try to avoid having a quorum. So if we can split it up, if you would like to come. But I would encourage you to come to that. I think it'll be good. And you get it at the end of the presentation, you have a chance to complete a survey with your preferences for what you think would be the best device. On the personnel section of the board agenda, you will see item A under personnel. Miss Nancy DeBella is submitted her retirement notice. And I would just like to recognize Ms. DeBella for her 27 years of service to the children in the community of Monroe Township. And I certainly wish Ms. DeBella a wonderful retirement. Absolutely. With that, I would respectfully ask the board to approve the attached personnel items, letters A through letters AW.
I'll move. So, second.
Mr. Braverman, Mr. Chiarella, are there any comments or questions
I
for
have just one.
Dr. Kozak?
Yes, I have one. Under middle school, under AT, I think there's a misspelling of a name. This is, I think that should say Chris, maybe?
What name?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. We will correct that.
Ms. Arminio?
The first version of the agenda had, and then we got it, I don't know what page because there's no page numbers, but after Barclay Brook Basic Skills, and that was the original, I think it was originally AJ. There's a list of names and clubs that I don't think are on the second version. So I just want to know if we're voting on that as well. It starts with Heidi Lebrani, acting for Television Club. Is it on the second version? Where is that?
AK. Oh, I see it right there.
Okay,
yeah.
but the names are different. Are there additional names, or are they just moved around?
The names for the club advisors should be the same, unless there was a typo that was picked up in the first version. Maybe that's why it was revised.
Well, there's a Sarah Cummings Makerspace Club on one.
Right.
And not on the other. So that's what I'm saying, they're different.
Okay. Yeah, when the agendas are revised, They're usually, if it's a last-minute addition, or perhaps someone saw a mistake or an omission, they might have added that. But I'm not sure which version,
Well,
the printed version from Friday?
The printed version from Friday, and then there's a correction, because under the Barclay Brook Basic Skills, the first version did not have all the other schools, but it had, again, but the first one and the second one are not the same. So are we omitting the first, I mean, if you want to take a look here, I'll show you.
I only have the first version. I don't have this.
There was at about 2:34 this afternoon, we got a second.
Okay, so you have the original one?
I have the original and the second.
This is the one I just.
She's looking at Fridays. That's why they updated.
Skills.
Right?
It's very different.
It's very different.
You know what? This isn't Barclay Brook Basic Skills. These are clubs.
Yeah.
No, I
Okay.
know,
They were-
but when you have the clubs in the second version, they're not the same.
Yeah, if you look at this is very different than this.
Right, they're two different things. I think what happened in this, because I did have a conversation a couple days ago, in the board docs, the electronic version,
Right.
when they're moving or adding things, occasionally keyboarding, they might have picked up and accidentally cut something. So what you see is those list of clubs is mixed in with the basic skills. And that was picked up and corrected and relocated back to where it should be.
Okay, and I get that part,
Right.
but the names on the first version are not the same. So are we voting on both the first version and the second version? I just want to know who I'm voting for.
We're voting on the version that's on board docs.
Yeah.
They
the-
were both
the
on
most-
board docs because
Right,
of
but the,
Brian.
but the board docs is the most current, and
No, I got that. So what are we doing with this? This is eliminated, is my question. Are these eliminated?
Yeah, I think those were voted on last time.
Okay.
I think that's why. I think it
Okay.
must have been kept from last time.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you. Technology, it's a wonderful thing when it works.
AJ. AJ.
AJ. Right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, then we'll have a roll call.
Personnel items A through AW. Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Braverman.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, personnel items A through AW has passed.
board action.
Board action items.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to ask the board, I would recommend to the board approval of items A through P in, under board action.
So moved.
Mr. Braverman. Second. Second by Mrs. Lang. Again, comments or questions for Dr. Kozak?
Yes, I have two questions. Under letter N, where it says physical examination for the certified and non-certified.
Yes.
I know at our policy meeting, we caught that the district is supposed to bear the cost of the physical exam. I was just wondering if that was something that needed to go through finance before we vote on it? Because we weren't, remember that was?
Yes.
That one came up as a surprise?
Yes. That's, I did talk to Mr. Gorski, and we do have the funds to cover that. It is a mandate, so we will cover that.
Okay.
As well as, we did look at the cost of the recommendation in that policy to require new employees or candidates for employment to undergo drug testing. And that cost would also be borne, would be covered by the school district.
Okay, and that's in this policy? Because I didn't see that
Yes.
part when I was reading it.
Yeah,
Was it-
I can pull it up
Thank you.
and tell you where that is. It's about, let's see. The fourth paragraph down of policy 3160, and policy 4160 is a similar policy, but
Gotcha.
it says candidates for employment who have received a conditional offer of employment will be required to be tested
Gotcha, there it is.
for usage of, controlled dangerous substances.
Okay.
Did you have a second question?
No, actually. It answered. Thank you.
Question.
Mr. Mayo?
This ETS letter of agreement that we are going, can you explain how this benefits us?
Is that the language muse palette?
Yes.
It's we're testing something for them.
Yeah, this was the one, this was taken to curriculum.
Okay.
Already, and Dr. Roselle had shared. This is for us for our ELL students, our English
yes,
language
now I
learner students.
remember.
That's what this
Okay.
is. So it's for us to participate in this pilot.
Yep.
For our teacher, our ELL teacher to get trained.
Okay.
And to be able to use it's technology where she'll actually be able to pool multiple resources for our ELL students for all of their classes in the high school.
Okay.
To help them.
Now I
So
remember.
it was that one that we went over in curriculum.
Thank you.
Mr. Ryback?
Not a question, just something I'd like to note. If the board approves, I think it deserves mention. We have a student that was invited to go to Atlantic City to participate in the jazz choir. That's a very notable accomplishment. And not to forget also the percussion workshop in the high school is another item we're voting on. I think these are two things that shows the talent of our students and the expertise of our staff.
And I was looking at that because I wanted to know what NJMEA stood for.
It's New Jersey Music Educators Association, and the students that are going to sing, I believe, we recognized in the spring, I think, isn't that, yeah, I think they actually are, they audition, and if they make the audition in the springtime, then they perform in the fall. So we did recognize those students, but I do agree that they're doing an excellent job.
Anyone else? Mrs. Lang?
I did have one. At the policy meeting, the last policy meeting, we also said that we wanted our student teachers to have the substitute certificate. So on this list of board approval, they all have the county county substitute certificates.
Yeah, well, we didn't change the policy, because that's what the policy did, but Dr. Albick has been in contact with the colleges, all the colleges from where we draw our student teachers, and let them know that that is a requirement, that all of our our student teachers.
So they don't, we don't know who has it and who doesn't.
No, and all of the student teachers that we currently have in our building do not have a substitute certification except for one.
Okay.
But however, I have reached out to all of the colleges and I've notified them of the change. But these teachers were already placed in our districts, and I wouldn't want to tell a student teacher that you just lost your placement 2 weeks before it started.
Yeah.
So I will, but they've all been notified. So from this point forward, they will all have their substitute certification.
Thank you.
Except part of the problem was that policy actually was in place, but it wasn't followed or enforced. So I understand the grandfathering of the situation, but that's a problem if we have policies that are not being enforced. So
what we do
going forward, I think the board expects that everyone is certified properly. Okay, I also have.
Mr. Minio?
On C, the recommended approval is submitted for field trips. I would just ask maybe the curriculum committee and also for future field trips that maybe we can take some of our students to the Constitution Center in Philadelphia. It hasn't been on.
It's a May field trip and it's 5th grade.
Okay, I think it's extraordinary. Maybe we can expand it to other students because I think there's a lot going on there.
We do it, it's part of their curriculum.
Good. I think that's an excellent idea. And can someone explain on L, the program Pride in Public Education, what that entails?
Sure. Do you want to?
That was the program that I mentioned at the beginning, having the students come. the reason that these two programs are on here is because the MTEA is receiving grants for both of these programs from NJEA, and that's the money that will be used for this. So it's at no cost to the district, but I wanted to make sure that the board was aware that these programs were happening and that MTEA would be using the money from NJEA for these two projects.
Specifically.
And Pride is the one where it has to do with bringing our schools into the community. So having our students come and present at a board meeting, having our teachers and our MTEA available at back-to-school nights for parents, that type of thing, helping with the referendum. And FAST is a grant program for teachers.
Okay. How much, do we have a number that goes along with that?
I do not have that number because that's the MTEA number.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, roll call, Mr. Gorski.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Braverman. Mr. Chiarella. Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes, but I am voting no on policy 2622.
So noted. Thank you.
And voting, I'm not done. And voting no on policy 5460.
Are you done, ma'am?
I am done.
Thank you. So noted. Mrs. Lang.
No on policy 2622 and policy 5460, and yes on the rest.
Thank you. Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
Mrs. Kolpanowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, board action items A through P has passed.
Okay, we will go to the Business Administrator's report.
Madam Board President and members of the Monroe Township Board of Education, it is recommended that board action items A through L be approved by consent roll call.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Chiarella, Mr. Ryback, are there any questions for Mr. Gorski? Ms. Arminio?
One quick one. On the memorandum for submitted signatories, authorized signatories, yeah, in the package was just a list. Is that considered the memorandum? Or is there another?
Yes, that was letter I. There's a list.
I have a list.
Those are all of the board authorized signature employees who have signing authority on checkbooks. There are board accounts, and there are numerous student activity accounts. There's one at every school where the signature on those accounts would generally be the principal or a supervisor or advisor type position.
But there's no additional document I mean, this to me was just a list, so I guess it's a memorandum as well.
Yeah, it's a list of names and the school or the account.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll have a roll call.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Braverman.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky. Yes. Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion passes unanimously. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Board President's report. Okay, as most of you know, at the September Board of Education meeting, the board passed a resolution to go out for a referendum on a new 1,000-seat middle school on the corner of Applegarth Road and Cranberry Station Road. The steering committee, who has been meeting very regularly for the last 2 years, met yesterday along with a representative of Interactive Dialogue, who will be working with us to get the correct information out about the referendum to all residents of Monroe. Starting with the Community Oktoberfest this coming Saturday, we will be at events throughout the district and throughout the community with a tabletop presentation, a 2-page fast fact sheet, and voter registration forms. We'd like to make sure that we get as many people registered to vote as possible, and we'll have some information. You can talk to us, ask us questions. We are working on a number of different ways to reach out to the community so that everybody gets the correct information and we reach, hopefully, everybody. Information will be sent home through the mail. You can get information by attending Board of Education meetings and Board of Ed presentations throughout the community. Information will be posted on the district website. We'll have newspaper coverage, the Falcon Flyer, Channel 28. If you have a group or an organization or a neighborhood get-together and would like us to attend to have a small gathering and just get a more intimate setting for questions and answers, you can call the district office and request a presentation, and we will very gladly be able to want to come out if invited and have discussions with our community members. Lastly, we are working on a Q&A document that we feel will be able to answer the voters' questions about this referendum. When the document is finalized, we will put it on the website, and we'll also have copies available for the public. You can always email us at referendum@monroe.k12.nj.us with questions about the referendum, and all questions will be answered as quickly as possible, and if needed, will be used to update the Q&A document. It is our hope to be able to reach all the residents of the community with accurate and up-to-date information. We are also looking for volunteers to help us get that information out, so if you're available and would like to help us, please contact the board office. Is there anything else you think should be noted in that?
No, Madam President, I think that was pretty comprehensive. We will update our website shortly with all that information also, so that people will be able to go to our website and have links and information on there.
Okay, thank you. Other Board of Education business?
I have something, Kathy.
Oh, Mrs. Lang.
Yes, I do. Okay. Me. You know, that side always goes first.
I'll let Patty have her.
Okay. On October 2nd, our board president, Kathy Kolponowitz, welcomed her first grandchild, Ethan, and he is absolutely stunning. He was 7 pounds, 2 ounces, and we just want to congratulate you. And anybody who wants to see pictures, Kathy will show you pictures of the baby. So congratulations, Kathy.
Thank you, Patty. Make me feel old now.
You're not alone.
Okay, I know. With older ones, too. Mr. Mayo?
Yes. I went to the State Board of Ed meeting on October, October 4th, and this is one of my favorite Board of Ed meetings because it's honoring the Teacher of the Year of New Jersey, and it really shows the great work that is being done by teachers across the state. The Teacher of the Year who won this year was Amy Anderson, teacher of American Sign Language at Ocean City High School, and she's been teaching for 21 years. She loves American Sign Language, and she's passing that love on to her students. And it was just a really nice presentation, so I congratulate her on her win.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Chiarella.
I have a couple things. So our committee for fair funding delivered the letter that was approved here at the last meeting to Senator Greenstein, Wayne D'Angelo, and Dan Benson's office 11 days ago on Saturday. They weren't there. Obviously, not a lot going on there on a weekend, I guess. But we were there, and so we read the letter, and then we delivered it to their office. I just want to remind everyone that Election Day is coming up. Every one of our legislators, including the governor, is up for re-election. They promised us money. They gave us hardly anything after all the fighting that we did, all the going to Trenton, all the things over the prior years, with developing legislation and prior board members fighting for funding and writing legislation with Michael Gorski. And after all of that, they gave us less than $500,000. And they came and said, well, this is a down payment on the future. We're going to promise you more. It's really, I think, is a down payment on them getting reelected. Because in my opinion, when the Education Law Center gets involved after the election and starts to threaten to sue them and make noise, they're going to all back down and we're not going to get any other funding. So I think it's important that we weigh that going into November 7th and let them know what we think about the funding. Because in my opinion, if they wanted to get us funding, they would have done it before now. And now that all of a sudden everything becomes tenuous, elections are hanging in the balance, their futures are hanging in the balance, now they're making promises that I don't think they can keep after November.
That's just my opinion. Now, well, thank you, Mr. Klein. Hello. And there, Mr. Klein, there's a board member that has fought for funding for years and requested that this board sue. And I think that I just think that we need to keep fighting. But I just want to bring up something else, if I may. Can anyone tell me the percentage of Indian students that are currently in our schools? From what I understood, it was 30% or
Yeah, I thought it was a third, 33.
Somewhere between 30 and 40%. I don't have the exact percentage, but yeah.
What I would like to recommend, and I don't know if I'd need to make a motion, but I would like for us to pursue it as a Board of Ed, is that we have now, with 30% of our children being of Indian descent, Indian Americans, that we should be looking at making sure that today is Diwali. It starts Diwali. So happy Diwali. But I also think that we need to start looking at maybe allocating a holiday that would allow 30% of our kids to be recognized for who they are. I'm not saying to segregate and do things like that, but we celebrate Christian holidays and Jewish holidays and things like that. And I just think it's important to also recognize those children, 30% of our population. So I'd like to see us either earmark a holiday for them or do something that would allow us to do that, shuffle holidays or something. It just so happens that our board meeting fell on Diwali, so I thought it was a good time to bring that up. But I also think that tomorrow is also a day off for the kids, and that it would be easy for us to maybe recognize a sizable portion of our population, and growing, who has been very supportive of the educational system here and very supportive of us in a lot of cases, and are contributing 30% of their children to our population.
Sure, Dr. Kozak.
Well, Ms. Lang?
I was just going to say, and Ken, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was something that during the past election we talked to parents about. And I was just going to say, I remember when the calendar came out, I called Dr. Alvik, and I said to her, they have Diwali off? And she said, yes, that it was big. So I want Dr. Alvik to say that they planned that in-service day, specifically so that we were meeting the requirements of the 180 school days, meeting the requirements of the in-service, and that we were able to at this time. But I think we should do more. I really do.
Well, I appreciate that, I do, but I think we need to do that in a way where it's earmarked like we do Christmas or like we do other holidays.
Yeah. And to respect both your points, and I agree with what you're saying, we have had conversations with several members of our Asian Indian or Indian community, and they have expressed that to us, that Diwali would be a day to be recognized. And in the past couple years, by the way that the calendar fell, Diwali happened to land on either a weekend or maybe Veterans Day one year. So this year, when Dr. Albert came to me with the calendar, that was a discussion. And I agree with Ms. Lang on that is a consideration. It's hard to balance all the holidays while still meeting all the requirements, but we're doing what we can. And we do have conversations with members of all sections of our community, but certainly our Indian community. And you're absolutely right, they are very supportive of the educational system here in Monroe. And as with all of our constituents, we want to respect what they consider important and work with them. Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chiarella. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, we will open the public forum again. Anyone wishing to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name and address. And Mr. Gorski's not here for the 4-minute time. So,
41%.
First of all, I would like to congratulate Ms. Kapanovich of becoming a grandmother, because that's the best. Anyway, the reason why I'm speaking is I did send most of you a letter about the 4 football players. Now, this pertains to O, which are your new policies. And had the NFL acted when Kaepernick did the kneel down, I am a Vietnam-era veteran. My father and most of your fathers and grandfathers served during World War II and Korea. And what do we fight for? For our flag and our country. And before somebody comes up and says, well, they have their First Amendment rights, the NBA, the Basketball Association, has a rule that all players must stand up, right hand over the heart, and pay respect. What's happened by the NFL, not acting right away and shutting it down, allowing it to happen, it's now trickling down to the high schools. There was an article in the paper on the weekend, a girls' soccer team, a high school soccer team, refuses to stand. I take offense to that. The veterans take offense to that, and most Americans take offense to that. What I ask is, I don't know whether Mr. Minio is still on the policy committee, but whoever's in charge of the policy committee, there has to be a policy that they must stand or they're off the team. And that's what the Kansas City chief owner did. He made a statement, they will all stand in respect. They don't have to pledge, they don't have to say a word. This country and its residents deserve respect. And I would hope that the next time you come up with a new policy, that you do come up with a policy for this for all of the players. Thank you very much for all your work.
Thank you, Mr. Klein.
Prakash Purab, 33 Dana Drive. Yesterday I was in high school, and I really appreciate the innovation and entrepreneurship groups presented. I really looked at, I got the copy of the document 3 days in advance. The students were very professional. They had vision, the concept, market analysis, competitors, and projection. It was well written, well presented. So first of all, Dr. Ash, who is volunteering on that club, I appreciate him. But I also appreciate Dr. Kozak for sowing the seeds what the future of our school should be. It is not just studies and all, but thinking. They should be good in sports, they should think well, they should study well. So I do appreciate Dr. Kozak, the principal, vice principal, and the 2 teachers, and all the students. So that is my first comment. The second comment is fair funding for the school. I take a deep breath here. We have to be strategic. It is the governor of New Jersey today. It should be our target, because he was the one who froze the formula, and we didn't get fair funding for last 8 years. It is not the senators or the assemblymen. Whenever they put the line item, he objects to it. So it is just not going on the Facebook and politicizing this. We don't want to politicize anything. Our main goal is non-partisan way, have a strategy so we get a fair funding. So I'm ready to help. The strategy and planning should be there. The most important 3 peoples in our New Jersey, that is the governor, speaker, and president of the Senate. So we have to have coalition with the districts which are impacted, and we should build a strategy. I'm ready to help the team and work on it. And last item, President Trump is trying to divide our country. He was the one who started this NFL issue, and then it is trickling down, okay? If you write a policy which impacts the First Amendment, be ready for the lawsuits. And I don't want the Board of Education or our school paying money to fight the lawsuits. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Okay, seeing no one, we will close the public forum and go to the closed session resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Monroe hereby moves to go into closed session in accordance with the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10:4-6 through 10:4-21, to discuss the following subjects: harassment, intimidation, and bullying, MTEA negotiations update, and the personnel matter level 3 grievance. The legal advice has been taken off the agenda. Following closed session, action may be taken. The discussion conducted in closed session can be discussed to the public at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
Second.
Mr. Ryback, Mr. Chiarella, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, then at this time, we will move into closed session. Half hour? Half hour? We should be there about a half hour. Okay, at this time, the board will come back into public session. And I believe I have 2 resolutions to read. The first one it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the suspension with pay of employee number 1598 from October 19, 2017 through October 20th, 2017. The superintendent and the business administrator, board secretary, are hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to implement this action by the Board of Education.
So moved.
Ms. Arminio, Ms. Lang, any comments or questions? Roll call.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo. Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. It is recommended that the Board of Education hereby denies the Level 3 grievance regarding employee number 1728, dated September 8, 2017. The superintendent of schools and the board's business administrator, board secretary are authorized to take all necessary steps to implement this action of the Board of Education. Mr. Ryback? Patty? Patty. Mrs. Lang, any comments or questions? Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion passes unanimously.
Okay, at this time, we will go to public forum. I'm not sure, but if there's anybody here that would like to speak, please come to the microphone. Okay, seeing no one, our next scheduled Board of Education meeting is November 15, 2017, 7 o'clock p.m. at the Monroe Township High School. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Chiarella, Mr. Ryback, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And meeting is adjourned.